we're getting deep in today's video, so let's go. Hey guys, what's up? It's Hannah, and today's video is going to be a little bit more serious. Today I'm going to be talking about how to deal, or I guess more specifically, how I deal with anxiety. The reason that I'm talking about this, obviously, the world is going through quite an anxiety-ridden situation right now. I think that that's kind of been something that has just been on my mind since this whole situation, if you will, started. It's just the fact that I realized that so many people's mental health is probably not going to be in the best place. Probably for a little while, to be honest. I know that when this all started, my mental health went all out of whack. So today I thought I would sit down and give you 10 ways that I deal with anxiety. Now, I just want to let you say, just want to disclaim, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a therapist, I'm not a psychiatrist, I'm not a counselor. Obviously, this advice might not work for you. Anxiety is not a one-size-fits-all thing. Mental health is not a one-size-fits-all thing. This is what works for me. Maybe it could help you, and just, yeah, I don't know. I want to throw out some tips for you guys because I know it's been a struggle for me, so perhaps it's also been a struggle for you. And you know what? Maybe we can all just struggle together, get through together. Here is my advice, the things that help me. I hope they help you. Let's just get into starting off on my list of ways that at least I deal with anxiety is just taking care of your body. And I know that this sounds like, well, duh, but if you have anxiety, you can probably relate to the fact that when you are going through that like very heavily, or you're in a really bad bout of anxiety, or it's really heavy in your life at that point, doing the bare minimum of taking care of yourself feels like a lot. Like when you wake up in the morning and you're like, I have to shower, and then I have to brush my teeth, and then I have to get dressed. Like, those are the bare minimum things. It's been 2 months in quarantine and I've only just started like exercising daily and really getting into like good eating habits. So it is okay. Give yourself a break, but also I would say if you're on a good day and you're like, hey, I feel like I can go for a run, I feel like I can go for a walk, literally whatever you feel like you can do, try to do that. I promise you it will make you feel better. Every time I exercise, I feel so proud. I'm like, oh my god, I just did that. Every time I eat a good meal, I feel really proud of myself. It's just like those little achievements throughout the day that will really help you gain just like a sense of confidence in living your life. And it's just little things to be proud of, and it's really important to have those little things every day that you can be proud of. Number 2, and this one is super important, and it's find a good outlet for your feelings. For me, this is journaling, but it obviously doesn't have to be journaling for you. You can literally find anything that you like doing, playing an instrument, doing art, exercising, singing. I think something that I didn't do for a very long time when I was really struggling with anxiety, especially like this past year, is I had nowhere to put my feelings. I wasn't journaling, I wasn't making YouTube videos. I was the only person dealing with my feelings, and I was never letting it out. And that can be really damaging, because if you just constantly let it build up and build up, you're gonna try to keep repressing it, and it's not gonna work. It's only gonna get worse because those feelings just build upon each other. When you do find something that can really help you put your feelings somewhere else, like an outlet for your feelings, try to make it a routine. I would really recommend try to make it a routine, because I know I really only journal, and I still do this, I really only journal when I really feel like I need it. And I know that that's kind of a problem because I'm only journaling at the worst of my times. My anxiety for me is very cyclical. I will have a hard time again eventually. Like, I've gone through so many phases in my life where I'm like, oh my god, it's over. It's never over. You know what I mean? Like, this is something that I will deal with for the rest of my life, and it's really good to get into a habit of doing your coping activities, the activities that help you relieve your feelings often, so that you don't feel like you have to get back into it when you do kind of maybe get back into a harder state with your mental health than you were at before. Number 3 is find somebody to talk to. And I know that this is so hard. For me, what this meant was ultimately starting to go to therapy. I didn't tell anybody besides my family. My family was the only people in my life who knew that I was going to therapy. I had kind of breakdown, I guess, for a lack of a better word, like at the end of 2019, and it kind of went into the beginning of 2020. And basically it got to a point where my parents didn't force me, but they were like heavily trying to tell me that maybe I should go get help, and I knew that I needed it. I think it is really important that whether it is a therapist, a family member, a friend, you have somebody that you can talk to, because anxiety sucks because it's so tangible to you, but to other people it's not, because they're not in your head. And so if you can find even one person who will kind of listen to your struggles, and even if they don't necessarily understand, they will try to understand and will take the time to listen, that's just so important. I know it really helped me just to realize that I could talk to people about it, because I think for a long time I felt really whiny talking about it, honestly, because I was like, these problems seem so insignificant in the larger scheme of the world, but it was affecting my day-to-day life. And if it's affecting your day-to-day life, even if it's affecting your life like a majority of the time, you deserve to get help. Moving on to number 4, this is a big one for me. It is learning how to talk yourself down. Now, basically what I mean by this is when I do start to realize that my anxiety is getting really bad, I used to not know how to deal with that. I would just kind of let myself slip into it. And not that that's your fault. It's absolutely not your fault. I mean, anxiety is so hard to deal with. But I think if you can kind of learn mechanisms to try to, what I would call like, talk myself down. So instead of being like, oh my God, I'm gonna die, it's, I'm having anxiety. I've had this before. I know what it feels like. It's kind of a way of just bringing myself back to reality and not allowing myself to go so far into like, oh my God, I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die. That's one of the biggest issues with it, is that you are the one, like, it's your head, and then your brain just makes it worse and worse and worse by telling you, oh my God, I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die. And so if you can fight those inner thoughts with other thoughts that you know are reality, and you can kind of bring yourself back down, it helps so much. Moving on, number 5 is know when you need to take a break, and don't feel pressured to do things if you can't. This is a big one. I, for a very long time, just never felt like I could take a break in my life. I was like, no, I consistently need to be being productive. I always need to be doing things that are bettering myself. But I think you have to realize that there are just genuinely going to be days where you might not be able to go and do the things you want to do. I think it's really important to give ourselves the respect and give ourselves, cut ourselves some slack, that you're not always going to be able to do every single thing that you want to do all the time, because having anxiety is hard and it's really mentally tiring. And I think that's something that some people just truly will never understand if they don't have anxiety, or I guess like an anxiety disorder. If you just need like a day to rest, watch TV, just do something you like, I don't know, play an instrument, read a book, just literally take a break. There's nothing wrong with that. People do that when they're physically sick, and you should be able to do that when you don't feel mentally well either. Number 6, this is a big one, and it's really hard, but try all you can to stop negative self-talk. And this is honestly something that I have struggled with for the past decade of my life, to be honest. Honestly, negative self-talk, I personally believe, is one of the biggest reasons that people with anxiety, like, they kind of make it worse. We kind of make it worse for ourselves, because I think a lot of where our anxiety comes from is thoughts of, we're not doing enough, we're not doing things perfectly, we're not being good enough friends, we're not being good enough family members, we're not doing our work well enough, we're not being good enough student. We constantly put so many pressures on ourselves, or we don't have the perfect body, we don't look perfect. Like, we constantly put so many pressures on ourselves that we have to live up to this idealistic standard that we put in our head that honestly just isn't realistic. Like, you are never going to be that perfect person that you set in your head. It rationalizes your brain to have anxiety about those things, because every time you say something like that to yourself, it makes it more real in your head. Your brain is like, oh, you're gonna think these things? Well, then obviously it's okay to have anxiety about it. I think it's so important to just practice positive self-talk. I probably annoy the shit out of my family with this, because I am constantly telling everybody, not just my sister, but my mom, my dad, like literally everybody in my family, anytime anybody says anything negative about themselves, I'm always like, remember guys, positive self-talk. We can't be negative about ourselves. And like, it's kind of a meme in our house, but I'm actually serious about it. I really wish that people would be more positive, more self-loving. So if you can try to cut back on the negative self-talk, I seriously think like it has changed so much for me, and I think it will change so much for just anybody who tries to do it. All right, number 7. This one kind of goes with my number 1, which is just like taking care of your body, but try to create a daily routine. I have not been doing this in quarantine, okay? I don't have a routine, don't have one, and honestly, I'm suffering because of it. Just having things that you have to do every day that are kind of like benchmarks in your day, it just kind of gives you a feeling of like meaning and purpose, which I think is something that is lacking in a lot of people's lives right now because their schedules have been thrown off. Even if it's just like your wake up and bedtime, like even if you can't really figure out anything in between, but you have like a solid time where you get in bed, you try to go to sleep, and then you have like a general time of when you try to wake up, even that will kind of give you just a little bit of like a semblance of normal daily life. Moving on to number 8. This one is also really important, and that is understanding that your thoughts are not always reality. This is something that, again, I have really struggled with my entire life because health anxiety is something that really triggers my anxiety. My family could 100% vouch for this. I do have, like, I would say mild health anxiety. When I was in high school, I made my parents take me to the hospital more times than I can count. I went to the emergency room more times than I can count. There were so many times that I thought I was dying of every major disease. Okay, I've thought I had cancer. I've thought I had autoimmune diseases. I've thought I had a blood clot. There was one whole summer, literally one whole summer, where I was convinced that I had a blood clot and I was going to die of a pulmonary embolism. This is not a joke. I'm actually being serious. And it was so real to me. Like, all of it was so real to me. And my body would give me physical symptoms. That's the worst thing about anxiety, is when you think something enough in your head, your brain can make it true. So when I thought that I was having like this really horrible life-threatening disease, my body would go numb. I would start getting tingling. I would start getting soreness. I would start feeling weaker in my arms and legs. Even though I could still do everything that I was able to do, it just felt weaker. It was perceived weakness. It wasn't a real illness. It was just that I was psyching myself and telling myself that I had it so often, that this was so real, that my body literally made it real. Literally anything you're afraid of, it's so important to remember that your thoughts are not always reality. If you're afraid you're gonna fail, it doesn't mean you're gonna fail. If you're afraid to go give that speech because you think you're gonna stumble on your words, you don't know that that's gonna happen. Your brain is just constantly telling you it's gonna happen, and so it becomes fact in your head, but your thoughts are not fact. Number 9, this one seems so simple, but it's honestly just, it's sometimes really hard. That is, try really hard to get rid of anything that aggravates your anxiety. Now, obviously, basically what I mean by this, anything that just makes it worse. For me, that's caffeine. Do I still drink caffeinated coffee? Yes. Should I? Probably not. It's so important that you realize that your mental and your physical health really should be your first priority. So if anything that is part of your habits or your routine in life is making your anxiety worse, I would really seriously think about cutting that out, or at least trying to kind of back down from it a little bit, because it can only help you and it can only make things better. Lastly, number 10, this is just a really simple one, but try to maintain a positive outlook. I know this can be really difficult, especially in situations like now where it genuinely feels like there's nothing to be positive about. I know that. I feel that firsthand. Don't get me wrong. I have been such a pessimist in this whole situation. It has not even been that great. But I think it is truly important to realize that there are good things to live for. There are good things in your future. It is hard to remember sometimes. I won't even lie, and don't feel bad for being negative, because, I mean, honestly, the whole situation that we're going to it's traumatic. Like, it literally is a trauma that everybody is experiencing, even if it's not on like a macro huge level, even if it's just something smaller. it's traumatic. Even if the positivity is just doing a gratitude journal or thinking about things you're grateful for or just taking a walk in nature and enjoying that, just finding anything to be positive about, even in a situation that we're not in right now, but just in day-to-day life when you are dealing with anxiety, I think it's really important to remember that there are good things to look forward to, and it's not always, you know, the worst. There are things that make life really good. Those were all my tips on how I deal with anxiety. Like I said, I'm not saying that these things will 100% make it better for you. It doesn't even 100% make it better for me, but they do help, and it does kind of help me cope, especially in times like this. I can't stress it enough. Do not be hard on yourself. If you're dealing with anxiety, it is logical that you're dealing with anxiety right now. Don't push yourself, don't stress yourself, be kind to yourself. But if you can do any of these things on the list, you know, try to exercise, try to get out, eat healthier. Even if it just means taking a walk, try to gratitude journal, try to talk to somebody, like literally anything you think you can do that could maybe make you feel a little bit better. Just taking that little step, I think is, you know, it always just makes me feel a little bit better. And I definitely think maybe if you're struggling, it could maybe help you feel better too. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope that it helped you. If you did enjoy this, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and hit the little notification bell right next to it so you see every time I post a video, because I think they're pretty good and helpful. Just my opinion, but I don't know. If you did like this video, don't forget to like it so that I know, and comment down below so you can tell me what you liked and what you want to see, because I love your opinion. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a great day or night or whatever is going on, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!